And we are live. Welcome back to Content Swap. You are joined by Parker and
Aaliyah.
And if this is your first time listening to the Content Swap podcast, this is a podcast in which the two of us, a married couple, exchange content with each other every single episode. We engage with it. We give it its due. Then we kind of summarize what the events of it were. A little bit of background info is provided, some special behind the scenes. And yeah, we just kind of generally talk about our thoughts and feelings. We try to kind of really give it a full deep dive of kind of what we think and just based on everything that there is to possibly know about that thing. So before we dive into doing that, we like to provide a little update on the content that we have been engaging with on our own outside of the podcast and do that quick little update. So before we begin with the content, would you like to provide your update?
Sounds good. I'm a little sleepy today, so bear with me.
It's 7 p.m. on Sunday night.
Yeah. In terms of content, life updates, not much is different. Still pregnant, still working, doing school, all the things. But in terms of content, I recently watched the new Netflix movie called Back in Action, which has Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz. It's like Cameron Diaz's return to acting.
Yeah, she hasn't acted in what?
Yeah, she
how long? Since 2016 or something?
Yeah, she retired. She was like, I don't want to do this anymore, and quit. But yeah,
they never quit. They always come back.
But yeah, she came back and did this movie with Jamie Foxx, and it's a cute movie. It's nothing, it's not an incredible movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a decent, fun family movie you can watch.
It looked aggressively like a Netflix movie.
Yeah. Very much a family action movie. I will say that fight sequences were great. Anytime Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz were fighting people, it was very well choreographed and just looked really great. And it was nice. It was nice to see Cameron Diaz back in a movie and giving Charlie's Angels vibes, I really enjoyed that. So I think it was a good movie for her to return to. Like I said, not a great movie, but
But when was Cameron Diaz ever making great movies?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Cameron Diaz is in some classics. I mean, you've got Charlie's Angels. You've got something about was it All About Mary or something like that?
There's something about Mary.
Something about Mary, yeah.
Now that is a classic.
Yeah. You've got there's The Holiday, another Cameron Diaz classic. She's got classics.
Good. She does have classics, yeah.
She was in My Sister's Keeper. She was phenomenal in that.
Yeah. Shouldn't be giggling at that movie.
No,
I've
but it was
seen
a good movie.
I've seen it. I watched it at a hotel.
Yeah. Makes you sad.
Yeah.
You watched it at a hotel. What a downer.
I know. I watched it at a hotel with my best friend who was the best man at our wedding. I think we were on a Hawaii trip.
And you chose to watch My Sister's Keeper.
I don't know. I don't know why. We were in tune with our feelings as 16-year-old boys, okay?
But what a downer when you're on vacation in Hawaii.
We weren't drinking. We were 16. So, we put on a movie. A lot of people we knew were watching that movie at the time. So we watched it and then we went to bed.
Wow.
I don't see what the big deal is.
Wow. I remember I watched that movie and I told my mom to watch it. And
she's just weeping.
I didn't watch it with her. I go into the living room and she's like, "Why did you make me watch it?" I was like, "Sorry."
Hey, that's an Alex Pettyfer production, isn't it?
Is he in that? I don't remember. I
think
saw
so.
it the one time and that was enough. I was like, I don't need to see that again.
I never watched it.
Yeah. Anyways, all I'm saying is Cameron Diaz is in some classics. So she was in What to Expect When You're Expecting. Loved her in that. That's a silly movie.
She was good in that, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's see. My Sister's Keeper, right? My Sister's Keeper.
What are you looking for? Oh, to see if Alex Pettyfer's in it.
Yeah. I don't think it was.
I was like, that would feel so random.
Yep. Not seeing his name come up.
Got you.
Well.
So yeah, so I watched that. If you are bored and just like want something on,
Back in action.
Yeah, put it on. I also watched on Netflix Saturday Night, which is a movie that I've been wanting to watch since they like advertised that it was going to be released. And I really enjoyed it. I think the way it's shot just like emphasizes the chaos of Saturday Night. And I'm very curious to see like
of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, of Saturday Night Live. And it's just like I don't know how Lorne Michaels like didn't just quit after that first day. That like very first taping. He must really believe it. Well, I mean, he definitely, based on how he's portrayed in this movie, believed in like the show and what it was gonna become, when everyone else did not. But like it was so chaotic. I was like, I would have had a full meltdown, panic attack, cried in the bathroom, and then just gone home. Like it was just so many things going wrong, and so many very big personalities that were all just clashing, and it was just chaos. But you know, it turned out, I think the actors they had to portray all these like very iconic people were phenomenal. Like the guy who played Chevy Chase did a fantastic job like embodying Chevy Chase. Like I don't know how he did it. And then there was a guy who played Billy Crystal, and he nailed Billy Crystal's like,
Billy Crystal.
Yeah, he nailed Billy Crystal's voice, which I feel like is such like I have never heard anyone do an impression of Billy Crystal, and like I feel it seems like such a hard no, it seems like such a hard voice to recreate.
So specific.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, this dude literally, if I close my eyes I would think it's Billy Crystal. Like that's
really
insane. Yeah, he was so good.
Did he kind of look like him too, or?
Kind of a little bit, not totally, but you know, enough for me to like make for it to be believable.
I at least like look up the scene or something, you know.
Yeah, I mean there's a few scenes, but yeah, it was just, I don't know, I think everyone did a fantastic job. And I was just like, wow, I wonder how much of like now that they were at their 50th year or whatever. I wonder how much it's like become more refined in terms of just like the process. Like now they like really have it down pat, because like everything in this movie, it was just chaos. So like the only good way to describe it. So I hope it's not like that now, and I hope there's like some organization to it. But yeah, I'm curious to see
in 50 years I think they've figured out a workflow for everybody.
I mean, sure, but when you like hear, like I will like listen to some of the like comedians who like are on SNL, listen to their schedule, and it's that chaos still is there. Like it seems like the chaos is still there.
They gotta come up with a variety show every single week. Like there's I was just listening to the Besties podcast while I was cooking dinner, and they said that there's a new show. It's like a 4-part very short docu-series called like SNL 50, like Beyond that. Saturday Night or something. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't watched it.
Yeah, they said it was really good. They said you get like a deep sense of what's going on with the writers every single week.
Yeah.
What it was like when they started the show. What it was like when Lorne Michaels like came back to the show after a 5-year hiatus away from the show for like the 11th season, and it was like apparently super crazy. And like Robert Downey Jr. was one of the cast members for a whole season. Wow. And they said it was like super crazy and whatnot. And then there's like a whole episode just about the cowbell sketch apparently. I need more cowbell with Christopher Walken and Will Ferrell.
Oh yeah.
Iconic sketch.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's such a funny sketch. Anyway, okay. Well,
yeah, I highly recommend it if anyone's interested in watching it.
I'll give it a watch at some point.
Yeah, I like kudos to this comedian. I could not. I would be so burnt out. Like I'd be so exhausted after doing all of that. I mean, like the prep for the week and then like Saturday night doing the show. I'd be like, oh, I'm tired. Anyway, that's all I have for movies. I did start a new show called The Traitors. which has been out for a while. It's been a show that my best friend, has recommended so much to me. She loves reality TV, and it has the show has a lot of people who are from reality TV shows as like part of the cast. But if you're unfamiliar with The Traitors, it is a show where 3 people are chosen as traitors, and they get to murder somebody every night. So it's kind of like a murder mystery. So they get to murder someone every night. And the goal is for the people who are not traitors to figure out who the traitors are and to banish them, so that at the end, it's all the traitors have been banished, and then whoever's left over wins the pot of money that they collect by the end of the show. But if there is a traitor who's left by the end of the show, the traitor gets all the money. Or if there's multiple traitors, they split that money. So yeah, there's like challenges that happen in the show, but it's like the challenges are just there for one, more content. Right. And then 2 challenges is how they add money to the money pot. Mm-hmm. But I think by the total amount you could possibly get is $250K. Yeah. That would get split between whoever's left over. And so, yeah, so I have heard about the show a lot. I know that there's been like a lot of people who are on Survivor, like big, like Suri and things like that, big names that people love, who come onto the show. Real Housewives are on the show. Reza from Shaws of Sunset was on the show. Like all kinds of people. This is only season 1, so I know there's like 3 seasons that are out. But yeah, we started that. I'm really enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying it. We're gonna watch it hopefully after we finish recording this podcast. Yeah, because like I want to know.
Yeah, it's like I like the aspect. The banishing is like, that's fun, and it's like fun to see the conversations of like when they think someone's a traitor. Yeah. And their reasoning as to why they think someone's a traitor. But it's so fun to speculate who they should murder, because you want them to keep up with the, like, I don't know, I'm rooting for the traitors because I'm like, I want them to be able to keep up the facade.
Oh, I'm totally rooting for the traitors. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great television because, it takes that game Mafia that like, yeah, a lot of people played when they were young as, youths. And, that's what made Among Us popular during the pandemic, was because it was basically some form of mafia where you had to like vote people out, or like, one person is murdering everybody else. Yeah. But, now it's that, but on television with television personalities.
Right. And it's
makes it more fun.
Yeah. It's half television personalities, half regular people.
Yeah, but like the regular people have been chosen by the producers because they think that they would be good on television. Sure. Yeah. So like that just innately makes it like the most entertaining version of Mafia.
Yeah. Yeah, and like all of these television personalities, it's like they come from shows where they are like lying and deceiving, right. Survivor, Big Brother. To lie. Yeah, like that's where Real Housewives, they're not getting paid to lie, but like
they're getting paid to
Real Housewives
stir drama.
Right, exactly. They create chaos. Yeah. And so it's like putting that with like people who are just like everyday people, and like one of the traitors in the first season is a everyday person, and he's so bad at like
coming off like he's a genuine, like that he's bad at looking like he's telling the truth when he's telling the truth. Yeah.
Like he's just like, it's like you can tell he's a newbie at it, because you have like 2 people who are TV personalities who have won, or I don't think Suri won Survivor.
No, she never won Survivor.
Yeah. But 2 people who have been in like games multiple times where they're like, having to really is to cheat and lie. Yeah. And so they're like real strategic about everything, and he shows up and he's like, I think we should do this, and they're like, no. Or like they're like, maybe.
You're talking about that guy.
Yeah.
Oh. I thought you meant the faithful guy who like everybody was like, that guy is so sus.
Yeah, they
and he was like
immediately
a
thought
target
he was a
for multiple episodes. And like people, he did a bad job at coming off like he was telling the truth, even though he was telling the truth. Sorry, my bad. I was confused because the traitor that you're talking about, that guy just won't shut up. Like he's
terrible. He's terrible at the game.
Yeah, he sounds like he's lying all the time.
Yeah, like Brandy from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is like, he's a traitor.
Yeah.
Like day one.
Immediately.
He's a traitor.
Yeah.
But they haven't attempted to vote him out because this other guy was like seemed more suspect.
Yeah.
Despite not being a traitor.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and find out. I'm waiting for the moment where one of the traitors says, that guy or another one of the traitors is not doing it for me, and we need to take them out. Like,
take out the guy who is a traitor?
Yeah, like I'm waiting for one of the traitors to take out their own because it's going to throw off their game or whatever.
But see, the hard part about that is like it would have to happen in the banishing because they deliberate together.
Right, they deliberate together. Yeah, so they would have to be playing a really good social game to rally the troops against this one person.
Yeah, but it's like the difficult thing is like they're in such close quarters. So like when one person says like, I think this person's a traitor, it gets to everybody in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like
I also want to know like what happens when like how does this social game play out when people do actually become suspicious of one of the traitors, and like one of the traitors' names is one of the people who they're considering voting out, because then the other two traitors have to decide to themselves like, am I going to just automatically vote for the other person who's not the traitor, or would that seem sus? And if that person does end up being voted out and they were a traitor, and they tell everybody that they were a traitor, everybody's going to be looking at the people who didn't vote for that person.
I mean, we've kind of seen that a little bit, not to that extent to where they're like forced to there's been other people who have been more suspicious than like when someone throws out like, oh, I think Sarie's a traitor, or like I think this person's a traitor, so they like haven't had to like do the popular vote against like one of the own traitors.
Right.
But I mean, we have seen like where the guy's in the car and Brandy's like, I think Sarie's a traitor, and he's just like,
yeah, and then he tells the other traitors like, oh, hey, your name came out.
Yeah, by the way, they mentioned your name. But like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I
just think it's going to get
like deflect
really
a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're able to be like, when that happens, be like, really? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, because the other traitors are saying like, no, I don't think that guy would be a traitor.
Yeah.
And it's, even though like, oh yeah, he is a traitor, and I'm a traitor, and I can't have you knowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great show. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and it made me so happy to hear you say like, oh, I miss watching shows like this. We should keep watching Survivor, even though I've been trying to get you to watch Survivor like all year.
I know. I just like Survivor, one, because there's so many seasons and we like start watching it back to back when we do, and then I get burnt out on it.
It's okay to take a break.
Yeah, and then I get sick of it, and I'm like, I don't want to see any more of this.
Yeah.
And then, months go by, and then I'm like, okay, now we can pick it back up.
Yeah, it's okay to take a break. I don't think it's okay to say we can only watch it during the summertime, because like that's not why I watch Survivor. I just watch Survivor because I enjoy watching this like social politics, reality competition show content,
Yeah. But I think why we clash on Survivor so much is because like I'm the type to be like, you go ahead and watch it, and you're like, no, we watch it
because
together.
I enjoy watching it so much with you. I think you should be thankful that there is something that I enjoy doing with you so much that I want to wait to experience it with you, because if I just went and experienced all of it without you, it wouldn't be as fun for me.
Yeah.
But we also would be missing out on some amazing memories that we could be making together.
But
anyway.
But you also want to watch every show together.
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, I understand.
Of the time,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, when we want to start something, you want it to be us together, which I appreciate and I love. But at the same time, then it takes us forever to get through things because, like, I want to watch it. You're like, oh, but I was going to go play games. And then you go play games. Or like, you want to watch it. And I'm like, I'm kind of tired. I don't really want to watch it right now. Or like, I'm not in the mood for it. And so then it makes it really hard. So that's why I'm like, with Survivor, I mean, you did start it without me. I'm like, With
Yeah,
Survivor.
and then we
Go ahead.
started watching it together on season 8, and now we're on season 28. It does. We watched almost 20 seasons together. It just feels wrong to continue without you.
Well, we will watch it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I understand. But like now that we sat and watched some Traitors last night, I'm like, well, okay, you can't watch Traitors without me. But when we get into this mood, when we get into this mode of like, oh, this show's really exciting, we make time to watch that thing together because we both just want to know what's going to happen next. So like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I want to watch Traitors tonight. I'm probably going to want to watch Traitors tomorrow night and the night after that. That's how it gets when we watch these shows where it's like a whole season is available and it's like, well, let's not end now. I want to know,
Yeah.
That's always fun to me.
Yeah. I hear you.
Anyway.
The last thing on my list is I finally started Onyx Storm. I mean, I say finally, it literally was just released. And somehow I managed to snag the audiobook on my public library app.
Sorry, you said it so quickly. What was it?
Onyx Storm.
And what is that?
I mentioned it last episode, but it's the third book in the Fourth Wing series, or I think it's called the Empyrean series. And yeah, it's about like dragon riders and they are fighting like a war basically.
Gotcha.
And it's a very romantic-y book. I'm not very far into it. I think I'm on like chapter 13-ish, which really is like only 8 hours into a 24-hour long audiobook. It's okay. It's not captivating me as much as I would like it to for a book this long. It kind of feels a little bit like the same old kind of stuff happening that was like happening in book 2. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm curious I've been trying to avoid Instagram because like a lot of the like book people I follow have like flown through it. And I don't.
Oh my gosh, when Caden slept with Maricela. I just made those names up.
Close. The one main guy's name is Zayden.
Zayden?
Yeah.
Zaddy Zayden.
But yeah, I feel like I'm gonna get spoiled because like people just read through it so fast. So I'm trying to like avoid anything about it, but I'm curious to see like how people actually feel about it. From what I've briefly seen, I think there's kind of mixed opinions on whether people like it or not, but I don't know. So we'll see. But I've got quite a bit to go and I need to hurry up and get through it because it's going to return back to the library in like 17 days. So
I think you'll do it at the current pace that you're going.
Yeah, I just need to like listen to like at least an hour each day and then I should get through it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's it. What about you?
Not a lot going on with me. I'm still just kind of playing the same stuff. I haven't really watched any movies aside from our content. I haven't watched any I'm still watching anime. I'm still watching Dawn to Dawn, Terminator Zero, Chainsaw Man, and Sakamoto Days. I'm like, all caught up on Sakamoto Days. There's only 3 episodes out, and it's, continues to be just kind of like a funny little breath of fresh air, I guess. Like just, it's, kind of low stakes and it's just silly. And I have like 2 episodes left of Dawn to Dawn, Terminator Zero, and Chainsaw Man each. So I'll be done with those in about a week probably, and I'm just kind of like enjoying that. I am actually. Last week I was saying that I might just go back to not watching anime after this, but I don't know. We'll see. It has made me look at my list of anime to watch and ask myself like, oh, would I want to watch any of these after? So we'll see if that happens or not. But I'm still playing the same games. The main games I'm focusing on are Devil May Cry 3, The Last of Us Part 2, and Sly 2 Band of Thieves. And nothing really to update there. I played a good amount of The Last of Us Part 2 today. I kind of got to like a specific pivotal moment that I would say it kind of marks the halfway point of the game, and the show for The Last of Us is coming back with its second season in a few months, and I believe they're gonna do like a season 2, season 3 kind of break apart Last of Us Part 2 into 2 different seasons type of deal. So I feel like the part that I'm at is kind of like indicative of when the season finale of season 2 was. But I don't know. I don't know how they're planning on doing the show. But yeah, I'm just happy to be kind of chugging along on that little endeavor. And yeah, I had like a nitpick last week that I was kind of like thinking about in the back of my head of like a part of the design that kind of irked me about The Last of Us Part 2, which I think is really just kind of specific to the first like 5 hours of the game, because then after that it really just kind of like picks up and just has like a very consistent pace. My problem was that I was kind of hitting so many walls where I was like, where the heck do I go? Like, I was just kind of getting so confused on like, oh, I have to climb into this specific little window, or you know what, like there was just too many moments where I was just getting impeded by like, I have no idea where the heck I'm supposed to go next. Granted, I did go into the accessibility settings and set it so that like hints show up as frequently as the game will allow them to pop up. Just because I'm like, I don't really want to be impeded by this. I just want to know where to go next, because I want to like experience the game, you know. So anyway, yeah, I'm just kind of enjoying that. Aside from that, I've been doing these like Monday night online gaming sessions with my brothers and my dad. And it's kind of just like some dedicated time towards playing together. And I don't really play a lot of online video games, so this has been kind of fun for me. Like, we're all playing on Xbox, we're playing on Game Pass, so we can play a variety of different things. And this past week we played Forza Motorsport, which is kind of like,
I love Forza.
Yeah, Forza is fun. Most people, I would say like Forza Horizon has kind of been like the popular between like the two types of Forza. There's like Forza Motorsport and there's Forza Horizon. Horizon is like the open world, drive wherever, do what you want kind of Forza. And then Forza Motorsport is the one that's focused on like driving on like real life tracks and like trying to beat your lap times on specific tracks on like with specific weather conditions and whatnot. Boom. And I kind of prefer that style of game, because I'm really, when it comes to cars, I'm like much more interested in like how can I get the fastest lap time than just like driving a car. And like when I play Forza Horizon, I feel like I'm just kind of like mindlessly driving, mindlessly doing random races that I'm never going to do again. But when I play Forza Motorsport, I'm like, oh, you know, what's the fastest lap time I can get with this car on this specific track? And like what I played with one of my brothers and my dad this past week, and it was just really fun because each of us had like in our garage, we both like all three of us had these two cars in our garage. So we all were like, all right, like everybody get in the Porsche and we're gonna race that. So we're all in the same car, and that was a ton of fun. But then what we did after that was we all bought a car in a specific race class, and then we drove those against each other. But then as you drive against each other, even online, like with your friends, you earn kind of like experience and credits, and you can apply that back to the car that you've been driving. And so that was a ton of fun, because we just started kind of like, oh, we all bought different E-Class cars, but then we all kind of have the same amount of experience that we can allocate to different upgrades to our cars. So we're all kind of like growing our individual cars together and just like making them slightly faster every single time that we race. And that was just a ton of fun. Like I want to do more of that with them. Like I'm really looking forward to doing that again. So Yeah, that was a ton of fun. Last thing I will say on my update is there was like an Xbox developer direct this past week where they kind of like shadow drop announced Ninja Gaiden Black 2 or Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, whichever. And I've never played a Ninja Gaiden game, but I've been playing a lot of like character action games if I'm playing like Devil May Cry and like Black Myth Wukong. And since it's not like on Game Pass, I could just download it. So I just kind of like downloaded it and played like the first level, and actually thought it was pretty fun. Like I think I'll come back to it eventually, but it's not getting slotted in. Like I'm already kind of playing 3 games right now, but I would like to slot it in because it doesn't seem like it's that long, and the combat's just kind of like really cool, and I like the art direction. So that's all I'll say on that, and that's my update.
Nice.
So without further ado, shall we get into this week's content?
Sounds good. All right.
I think you are up first talking about my movie.
Awesome. I was assigned the movie My Family or Mi Familia, which came out in 1995. And bear with me, this is kind of like a long synopsis. The longest one I've ever written.
Really?
Yeah.
You said that like 2 episodes ago.
What was that? What was that for?
I forget. I am number 4, I think.
Oh, yeah. That one we had to go through all the details.
This one's more worthwhile, I think.
Yeah. So this is a story about the history of a Mexican family across multiple generations. And so it's narrated by the oldest son, Paco. And it starts with him describing how his dad walked all the way from Mexico to California, where he meets J-Lo. I don't remember the mom's name, but the mom's, a young version of the mom is J-Lo.
Played by J-Lo. Yes.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez, for those that don't know who J-Lo is.
Who doesn't know who J-Lo is?
I don't know.
So anyways, the dad meets J-Lo and the two start a family together. And so while pregnant with their 3rd kid, J-Lo ends up being like illegally deported back to Mexico, but is like eager to get back to her family.
And that's in 1933, by the way, during the Great Depression.
Yeah. But she's like eager to get back to her family. She's like, I will be reunited with my husband and my kids, her other 2 kids. And so she makes the long trip from Mexico to California. But during this kind of journey she goes on, her and her baby Chucho nearly die trying to cross this like river, but they somehow survive, and they end up making it home. Yay. So cut to 20 years later, and now the eldest siblings are grown and there are 3 more kids. And so the eldest siblings are starting to really embark on their own journeys. They're getting married. Paco is enlisted in the Navy. But Chucho is kind of like up to no good and getting in trouble with the law. And at this like basically like sock hop dance, if anyone's familiar with what a sock hop is, at this dance, he accidentally ends up killing his like rival in the town and kind of goes on the run. And so the police like hunt him down and they murder him right in front of his baby brother, Jimmy, which is really sad. And then also around this time, the kind of middle sibling sister named Tony decides that she wants to become a nun. So she goes and does that. So cut to another 20 years passing. And now Jimmy is older as an adult, and he is struggling with the death of Chucho still. They have a brother, Memo. He's another one of the younger siblings, and he's in law school. And Tony at this time quits being a nun because she fell in love with a priest, and now they kind of help refugees. And so while Tony is doing this work helping refugees, she convinces Jimmy to marry a girl named Isabel so that Isabel isn't deported. And they're trying to like save her life. And after some time, like Jimmy is like very resistant to this. He ends up marrying her, but is like, she's not my wife. I just signed the paper. We'll get a divorce. very soon. But Isabel's like, no, I'm your wife. Like, I'm just going to be around. And after some period of time, they do fall in love, and it gives Jimmy a sense of purpose again. And so you're like happy that he's happy. But it is pretty short-lived because Isabel dies during childbirth, and Jimmy goes down like another spiral and ends up getting sent to jail, which leaves their baby with his parents. And so once he's released from prison, Jimmy meets his son and decides that he wants to be in his son's life. But his son, who is about like 4 or 5 maybe, isn't interested. He's just very like upset because he's like, I don't have a dad. Like my dad left, whatever. All this stuff. Like he tells Jimmy that my dad lives in Texas and does all these things and like is an astronaut.
Drives a big car.
Yeah. Like, you know, something a kid would come up with. And so he has no interest in Jimmy, which is like clearly hurting Jimmy's feelings. And so eventually at the very end of the movie, the two end up connecting, and they plan to move to Texas for a fresh start. And that's really the end of the movie. So you even though the narrator is Paco, you really don't like, he doesn't really have much going on. It's really focused on Chucho, and then it focuses on Jimmy. And then you kind of just see the connections with the other kids in terms of like how they're interacting with Chucho and Jimmy at the 2 different kind of time periods.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's like, I feel like it's kind of like 3 different time periods, with like the J-Lo arc being the first time period.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the kids' stories, the last 2 time periods are very much focused on Chucho at first and then Jimmy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I loved it a lot. I like loved seeing their family dynamics, seeing like each of the kids' different personalities and everything. The parents were like fantastic. I love the dad. He's such a sweetheart. The mom was super sweet as well, and just like
the non-J-Lo version.
Yeah, the non-J-Lo version. I enjoyed the J-Lo version too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the movie made me just like reflect on my own family's history. Like I love learning about my mom, and like when my mom was growing up, when she was a kid, when she had us, but you know, she was still pretty young, and like she sacrificed a lot to make ends meet for us and to give us the life that we have. And so it's just always nice to like hear her talk about that and be like, yeah, like I had nothing, but like I still wanted you all to like, you know, have these really fun experiences. I took you all to the park. I like took you here. I took you there, all that kind of stuff. It's just really nice to hear. And even like with my grandma, anytime I would like stay with her, I would ask her so many questions about like when she was a kid and like when she was growing up and she was in high school. I remember she told me once that like when they were in high school, they would go like smoke outside, like sneak outside and smoke or whatever. Smoke cigarettes.
Gotcha.
In case anyone was curious. But yeah, I don't know, she would just like tell me these things, and I'm like trying to imagine my grandma, you know, as a teenager, like doing these things. I don't know, it's just, and like she lived in a very small town, so like, and she's lived there like her whole life, and so to like drive around and she's telling me like, yeah, that's where we sat at like the diner, and like that's where we did this and that's where we did that, and I'm just like, whoa, like it makes me wish I could be a fly on the wall and like watch my family's history play out like you see in this movie, like how you see the movie play out, because I think that would be really cool. But unfortunately we cannot time travel. But yeah, so I really enjoyed kind of seeing the generations like just kind of play out. I absolutely loved Chucho and Jimmy so much. Like I was just so drawn to their characters immediately. As soon as they popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, I love him. And then after Chucho passed away, which is really sad, like seeing older Jimmy, I was like, oh, I love Jimmy. Like, what's he gonna do? Like, what's gonna happen with him? And yeah, I am very glad that the movie kind of centers around them. I just thought they were very like interesting characters. And I mean, honestly, all the characters are pretty great. The only character that I just like didn't love was Memo, and like I'll explain
okay, yeah.
why.
Let's talk about that because I have that in my notes.
Yeah, I think his character makes a lot of sense to me, and I understand why he was the way he was in the movie. But in the movie, Memo, once they're older, he's finished law school, and he gets a new girlfriend and wants to introduce his girlfriend and his girlfriend's parents.
I think it's his wife.
Were they married already?
I think so.
Oh, well.
I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, yeah. Continue.
Girlfriend or wife, either one.
Partner.
Yeah. He wants to introduce them to his family. And so he brings them to his family's house. And you just see his, like, shame.
Well,
shame might be a strong word, but
I don't know if you said that his girlfriend / wife is white.
Yes.
So her parents are old white people.
Yeah, white and affluent. It's important. That's like
they're from Bel Air.
Bel Air, yeah. So that's an important distinction to make. But yeah, so he like brings them there, and you see his kind of like shame around his culture. Like he doesn't go by his name. He goes by like Bill, which is like where did Bill come from?
So Guillermo is kind of like his name is Guillermo, and they call him Memo.
Yeah,
because it's like a nickname for Guillermo. But Guillermo, kind of like the English version of Guillermo, is William. And so he goes by William, so they call him Bill. Yeah. So it's basically, he like has to explain that to the white parents.
Yeah. He explains to them his like name. The like dad's like telling the story of like how like I like walked from Mexico to here, and he like it's like, Dad, like, don't like you don't need to tell that story. Like
he's like I walked from Mexico to here, and that's where like my uncle or whatever lived here, and then he died, and we buried him in the back, and that's what he wanted. And so like, and he's like no,
Dad,
it's
not like that's a legend. Like he's not buried in the backyard.
Like, there's nobody actually buried in the backyard. Don't make the white people uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like it's so sad to watch. Like he's just like, so I don't know. He's just, I get it, especially as a person of color who. I'll speak for myself, my own experience. I have been socialized to kind of like assimilate to this like Eurocentric, culture, I guess is maybe the word to use. Mm-hmm. Whether that's like was intentional or not, like, I don't know. I grew up like being told I need to like straighten my hair. Like my hair should be straight. It looks nicer that way. Or like you think about like when you go to apply for jobs, it's like much easier to get a job if your name is Ashley versus if your name's my name, like Aaliyah, like or all these sorts of things. So I completely understand his character and like why his character feels this way, but it's really sad to watch because he shouldn't feel that way, and he should like really embrace his culture and everything, and like his family history and his name and all of that. And I get it, but I was like,
you're saying this like he's a real person, as if like the writer / director of the movie wasn't trying to make a commentary.
No, I know.
With having his character.
I know, but I'm saying like when I watched the movie, I was like, I hate Memo. Yeah. And I'm like saying like, I don't hate Memo as a character. I understand Memo as a character, but I'm just like frustrated to see it happen. Like it like creates this reaction in me of like, no, like don't say that, like don't do that.
Right. I told you when I signed this movie last episode that I first watched this movie in 9th grade English class, and we spent a lot of time kind of dissecting that scene where Memo is introducing his girlfriend's white parents to the rest of his family. Mm-hmm. And I remember that just being a very fruitful, eye-opening discussion as a white person. Yeah. I mean, it's a really good scene. There's a lot to break down.
It's a fantastic scene. It's just, it's so interesting. I don't know. It's so interesting, like how these things play out in the real world. Like we're an interracial couple, and like even now, when we had our wedding,
and your family's all gonna come over to like my parents' house, and my dad's like, Aaliyah, I don't know what to put in the playlist. I don't know what songs to play. And I'm like, play whatever you want. Like, play what we usually listen to when we have guests over. And he's like, I can't play that. Like, and I'm like, why not?
I'm like, nothing's ever gonna change unless you expose these white people to what your life is really like. So don't cater to the white people. As a white person, like, we can be so bland, so I really shouldn't be saying things like that. But it's just, I'm just saying, like, white people don't deserve to feel like they can walk around and be free of having their feelings hurt, or free of, like, being, like, we need to stop being, like, shocked by how other people live. I just feel like that's a common theme. Maybe not necessarily with white people, but just because we are kind of like the social hierarchy kind of,
the standard,
the norm, quote unquote norm, that we feel like everybody else has to cater to us, and like that's really not how things should be. And like there's just so much life that is lived in this world that like everybody should be exposed to. And when I see scenes like this, I found it, very upsetting. Like, no, Memo, like, screw the white people. Who cares what they think? But I also, like, having white parents, like, I don't know, you like, even just them being older, you explain things that, like, we grew up with, or like did just being younger, or like, I don't know, even just talking about rap music. I played rap music in the car on like a road trip with my dad and my brothers once, and my dad was like, what is this? And that's not a knock against my dad, but like rap music didn't exist when he was a kid, but like, I love my dad. I'll see him on Forza tomorrow. My parents are fantastic, and they're very tolerant people. But I don't know.
But it's just not having that exposure to it. Like, it's just, so it's different.
But then I think that's why we need to keep exposing people to different things, so that, like, children grow up being curious, and then they stay curious for the rest. Like, ideally, people stay curious for the rest of their lives. And I just think we need to stop kind of saying, like, I know everything I need to know about this world, and everything that doesn't fit into my image of this world, like, I reject, or whatever. And I reject the idea of people rejecting other parts of the world. It's silly. Anyway, so like, got me going.
Well, like, from your experience, especially with us being together, and like your parents meeting my parents for the first time, like, what's the other side of it? Like, I mean, like I said, your parents are fantastic. So like, I'm sure they're not like the parents of Memo's wife or girlfriend, where they're like, when is the taquino?
Oh, how cute.
Yeah, like, they're not like that. Yeah, they're not like that. Like, they're awesome people. But like, like, my family meeting your family, they just like want to make sure they make a good impression. And so they're like, like, maybe we don't say these things that we typically say, because in the comfort of just like me and you two being there, because we want to make a good impression. Like, what's the other side of it? Like, what was your family kind of thinking?
I think they were just like, oh, can't wait to meet them.
Were there any fears, I guess?
I don't think they had any fears. I think they were just kind of excited. My fear was that they were going to say something ignorant or stupid, because even me trying to be as open and tolerant as I am, like, us being in an interracial relationship, and me just growing up white, you've even caught me saying certain things where I'm just like, ooh, yeah, what's that about? Like, I shouldn't say or do that thing or whatever, or joke about that or whatever. And so that's what, like, I worry about that whenever, my family met your family, like, oh, just don't say something stupid and ignorant. But at the same time, I'm like happy, because I'm kind of like, hey, they should be exposed to more black people. I think a lot of people need to be exposed to more Black people, but yeah.
I mean, just exposed to like different cultures in general.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I definitely need to be exposed to.
Let me put it this way: as somebody who grew up in like the Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, kind of like privileged, like I say, like I had a very diverse upbringing. Like I did know a lot of people of different races growing up, but I did not know very many Black people. Mm-hmm. So like for me, who's somebody who grew up in my specific area, I would say like, go find some Black friends.
Go find some Black people. That's funny. But yeah. Cool. I was just interested to know.
Yeah.
Because I like know, obviously I know like my family side of things. And,
right.
But I don't know yours family side of things. But I mean, they came together beautifully.
They did.
They had a ball.
They did. Well, like, one of my friends at our wedding, because the wedding was in Georgia, and one of my friends who I grew up with in California, he went to school in North Carolina, and he and I had a conversation at the welcoming party where we said, like, he was basically saying, like, this is great that you're having this in Georgia because the rest of these Californians, our friends, like, are getting exposed to the South. And they have this idea of what the South is like, and they've never actually been here before. Yeah. And the South is awesome. So
sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Depends on where you go to.
Right. Yes, that is true. But our point being, like, there are components to the South that are not the idea of it that you have in your head, and like it is good to get them exposed to things, to life beyond the California bubble, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's super interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I just like think about how different our upbringings have been, and just like you find yourself, like I find myself, when we are at the Airbnb, for Christmas, and I'm like looking around and I'm just like,
okay, well that's not normal to me either.
No, but the fact that your family can do that, like my parents could not pull that together, like, unfortunately. I mean, not unfortunately, because we have great times at the holidays, but I like sit there and I'm like, how did I end up here? Like this, it feels like I'm living a fake life. And it's just so
the Airbnb with water slides, swimming pools,
I was at
billiards tables.
I was at work, and we did this like team event where we like shared pictures of our holiday or whatever, and I put a picture of like me sitting outside by the pool. It's just like this huge like mansion with a giant pool, and I was like, I like read a book by the pool, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this looks insane, and like this is not I don't want them to think this is the regular, because it's not, but it's just like, I don't know,
you're the one living in Bel Air.
I'm just like, it feels like I'm living an alternate universe sometimes, but I don't, and it's not that I'm like grossed out by that or anything. I'm just like, wow, like I'm getting such a different experience in life having met you and like being with you, and like, I mean, I'm learning a lot about, I don't know, just like, I don't know. That's why I feel like we're always talking about like your childhood, like, but both of our childhoods, but like when you're talking about like your schooling and stuff, and I'm always asking you like these questions, because I'm just like, that's so like foreign to me. Like the fact that there wasn't like a lot of Black people like where you lived, or like people had.
We went to high school. We went to school. We didn't go to school outside, but we didn't. Our halls were outside.
Yeah, like
our
stuff
lockers.
Like that.
Our lockers were outside.
Yeah, like things being outside. Like what?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Just like hearing all kinds of things about your like growing up, your childhood. The fact that like when games came out, game consoles, you like got one every Christmas, and I'm like, what?
Well, even in my area, that was a lot.
A little excessive.
Yeah.
yeah, but
I was known as like
now,
the kid with every system, you know.
But even now, you know, Switch 2 comes out. You're like, oh, I'll just get that, and I'm like, huh? Like, what do you mean? You'll just get it, and like,
well, yeah, I'm an adult with my own money. I can afford whatever
I know, but it's just like the
want
mindset
to pay for myself. You know?
It's just the mindset of like, oh, I want this thing, I'll just get it, versus like, even now, if I can get something, I'm like, but do I need it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, which, not to say that you can't get what you want. No, definitely get what makes you happy.
I mean, I think I should be more frugal with my money, you know?
But I mean, you know, enjoy life. Like, we don't work to not spend our money, you know?
For sure.
So it's like, if that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. But I'm just saying, I have grown up around people where like they couldn't do that. And so like, I'm so used to, you know, new consoles come out, but they don't get the new one because they're like, well, I have the PS4 or whatever. And they just stick with that for a while. So like meeting you.
Which in the current landscape is a totally viable option because there's very few PS5 exclusive games. Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, meeting you where it's like, you know, the Zelda Switch came out and you got that, and then
I wanted the OLED version with the bigger screen, crisper.
Like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, can I have your old Switch? You're like, yeah. And then now this new one's coming out, and even though I'm like interested in it, I don't play enough games for me to justify buying it right now, at least. So like it comes out and I'm like, okay, well maybe later on down the road I'll buy one if I really want to.
And I'm just like,
you're like, I'll get it.
I'll get one. Yeah. Let me put it this way. When the original Switch came out, it came out in like March 2017. I didn't buy one until October of that year. I waited 7 months to buy one. So there you go. But
it's like with my laptop. Like my laptop, I kid you not, y'all. My laptop I've had since high school. It is a piece of crap. It's a MacBook Air, like 13 years old. And you were like, get a new laptop.
Well, okay. That's like not even a thing you're supposed to be doing. Like
I know.
It's so cheap for you to like just get a new one that has updated, like not necessarily like a new one, but like a one that is newer than the one that you have, because at a certain point you cannot update your software, which is going to
it has
be like an open security risk for you using such an old device. Like you're like not, that is why these things go down in value over time, is so that you can upgrade even if you don't need the cutting edge thing. You can still get, like my boss, we needed like iPads for this like conference that we were going to, and he was like, oh, like I'll get you an iPad, like I'll get you, it's like a work benefit or whatever, I'll get you an iPad. And I was like, whoa, get my own iPad from work, how cool. And he got me a refurbished 2017 iPad for like $70. And I was like, what? Like they're that cheap? And it was like my first iPad. So I don't care how big they are now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm stoked.
I know, babe.
And it's so cheap.
But I grew up with the mindset of, if it works, keep using it. And so my mindset is like,
and I'm telling you, it doesn't work anymore.
It works.
It doesn't work.
It works for what I need it to work. Okay. If I can write a Microsoft Word document, that's all I need. Like,
it works for all the front end stuff you need, but it doesn't work for the back end stuff that you need, that everybody needs, that they don't maybe are consciously aware of, that the fact that they need, but you do need it. I'm getting you a new laptop.
Mine works. That's what I say. That's the difference between me and you. And it's just like so embedded in me to like, why spend the money if it still works?
I like to take care of my family, and I don't want your information to be stolen by
there's no
hackers.
Information on there unless they want my dissertation. Like, what can they do with that?
They're gonna steal your dissertation.
By all means, please finish it for me, please. So yeah, I'm just like, I don't like my phone. I have what, an iPhone 11 maybe. I don't even know.
That's fine.
I'm like, I will not get rid of this until it literally shuts down on me.
Yeah, I mean,
my car is a 2018. I'm not, and that was a hand-me-down from my mom.
Babe, that's how I feel about all of that stuff too. Okay,
Yeah.
If the car still drives, great. Keep
Well, yeah,
the
that
car.
makes sense. I mean, because
if
it's
the
a
phone
car.
still works, great. Keep the phone. I mean, when we're at like iPhone 20, yeah, you might want to consider getting a newer one than the 11 because of the same security risk thing that I'm talking about. Because your laptop being something that you got in high school makes it like 11 years old, and that's too old of a laptop to have.
But still works.
That's no. So
It
like
still turns on. I
will
can
say,
still go to my email.
I have an iPhone 13 Pro, and that was the first phone that I bought for myself as like I am upgrading, not because my old phone broke, but because I am choosing to make this upgrade right now.
Yeah.
And I had an iPhone 10 before that, and before that, all I did was upgrade only if I like lost my phone or it like just didn't charge anymore or whatever. I understand that, and I'm just telling you, sometimes it lasts so long that it's now become a danger. And you need to update.
Excessive.
You need to update.
It's a bit excessive. Well, I am not buying myself a new laptop. Maybe as a graduation present to myself. I'm supposed to graduate in August. Maybe I'll get a laptop, but I don't know. I don't see the need for it.
I totally understand that. I don't think your life is going to significantly change from getting a new laptop from the one that you have. I mean, when you use that laptop, you'll be like, wow, it's so much faster. But like, aside from that, I don't think it's going to dramatically change your life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's going to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you need a new laptop. And that's just the baseline level problem.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, it's so slow and it'll be so much faster. No, like, you just need a new one. Like, that's just where you're at right now.
I'm like, when it gets too cold, when my laptop's too cold, it like won't turn on.
Okay, well, that's just silly.
I swear. I like pray every day that it turns on.
Okay. Well, that's not a thing that you should be dealing with.
No, it's fine. It works.
Okay, anyway, what are we talking about?
I don't know. We got on a tangent.
We did get into a tangent.
I don't know. But yeah, overall, love the movie. Great pick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Showing this.
I am glad you enjoyed the pick. I don't really there's very few facts on this movie, so I will just fly through this and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Okay.
So this movie was nominated for an Oscar. What do you think it was nominated for? Just one Oscar. I mean, just make like one guess.
Like screenplay?
Gotcha. Okay. Final answer?
Yeah.
Incorrect. It was nominated for Best Makeup.
What?
I mean, right? So, interesting thing about the Academy Awards and the Oscars. Back in like the 90s, you could look at the categories of like things that were nominated. Nowadays, it's like there's at least 5 nominations in every category. This movie was nominated for Best Makeup, and it was one of 3 movies that were nominated.
What were the other 2?
I forget what the second one was, but the one that won was Braveheart, which was the Mel Gibson directed epic of like the liberation of Scotland or whatever, which won Best Picture that year. It won a lot of awards that year. So I understand why this movie would lose to Braveheart, but I'm also wondering, yeah, what about the makeup was so good? Was it just like that the actors who portrayed the parents halfway through the movie, or like a third of the way into the movie, and for the rest of the movie, for the last third of the movie, they had to be technically like 25 years older.
But like they looked the same.
They looked the same.
Yeah.
They just made their hair like gray.
Yeah.
So I don't know. 1995, maybe that was good enough. I don't know.
Weird.
Just last year, I didn't realize the timing of this. Just last year, this movie was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And
Nice.
this is not the first movie that we've talked
you've
about
mentioned that
this
before.
has happened to before. I don't know what the other one was. But in the movie, I wanted to talk about just this little fact. I'm actually... Oh, okay. Memento was the movie. Remember Memento?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That movie was put into the National Film Registry in 2017. Okay, so yeah, in the movie, at the beginning of the movie, when the dad travels from Mexico to Los Angeles and to meet his like great uncle or whatever, because he's the only family that he's got left, the great uncle says that, I've always lived in Los Angeles. I live in the United States of America. I live in Los Angeles. I live in California, but I consider myself a Mexican, and like that this is Mexico because when I was born, this was Mexico, and then it became California, the United States, and Los Angeles and all that. So, and then that character died in like 1933 in the movie. So that made me curious, like when did California become a state? And California became a state on September 9th, 1850.
But like when was there like border patrol established?
That is a good question. Let me Google that real quick. When was... I'm going to go ahead and like make a guess. Because in the movie, they deported a bunch of people during the Great Depression. So I imagine that was kind of like the start of making a big deal out of the U.S.-Mexico border. Terrible Google search query. When was Mexico-U.S. border made a big deal? That's what I typed. Okay. The Google Search Labs AI overview says the Mexico-United States border was a big deal when the Mexican-American War ended in 1848, establishing the border's current shape. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed on February 2nd, 1848, extended the U.S. boundary and established the Rio Grande as the border. Let's see. The Mexican-American War lasted from 1846 to 1848. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the war and established the border between the U.S. and Mexico. The treaty also extended citizenship to about 80,000 people in the American Southwest, California, and Texas. The treaty ceded 55% of Mexico's northern territories to the U.S. Wow. The treaty established the Mexican and United States Boundary Commission to survey and mark the border. The Gadsden Treaty of 1853 reestablished the southern boundary of Arizona and New Mexico. So that does not really answer your question, because in the movie, the dad just walks. It like they kind of Paco, the narrator, makes a point of saying like the border, it was just a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And so I don't know.
Interesting. And I wonder if like they made it like, because there's also like the Canadian border. And
right.
like there's like border patrol there, so I'm like, what did the Canadian border like happen like later? Like, was it, or did they kind of happen at the same time? Like, it was just like I don't know. One of the presidents was like, all right, let's have. But was it the U.S. who determined that, or maybe like Canada was like, let's have a border? I don't know.
Okay, I did another Google search. I typed in when did border patrol get intense, and Search Labs AI overview says. The United States Border Patrol's priorities have changed over the years, including increased enforcement in 1986 and 1993. In 1986, the Immigration Reform and Control Act increased enforcement of illegal immigration. The Border Patrol increased interior enforcement, including employer sanctions and Form I-9 audits of businesses. And the Border Patrol believed that jobs were the main reason illegal aliens came to the United States. 1993, Californians passed Proposition 187, which denied benefits to illegal aliens and criminalized illegal aliens with forged documents.
Is that just the border between us and Mexico, or was that also the same for us and Canada?
Nobody ever talks about the U.S.-Canada border.
Yeah.
I mean, I imagine anything border related is probably being driven by Mexico, and then they say, all right, well, whatever we're doing down here, we kind of have to do the same thing up there. But it's maybe not so
stringent.
I was gonna say like racially charged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's
terrible.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, that's everything I had on this movie.
Nice.
I did kind of Google like a brief history of Mexico that I thought would just be interesting to do a quick run through. So Mexico's history is marked by the rise and fall of indigenous. This is also coming from Google Search Labs AI overview. So, I mean, it cites its sources, but
I click on some of those sources sometimes. I'm like, I don't see this anywhere.
Yeah, sometimes it's like wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, but just quick caveat. It says Mexico's history is marked by the rise and fall of indigenous civilizations like the Olmecs, Mayans, and Aztecs, followed by a 300-year period of Spanish colonial rule as the viceroyalty of New Spain, culminating in a war of independence led by figures like Miguel Hidalgo, ultimately establishing the Republic of Mexico in 1821. The 19th century saw further political turmoil, including the loss of territory to the United States before the Mexican Revolution in the early 20th century brought major social and political reforms to the country. So the Olmecs were considered Mexico's first known society. They settled on the Gulf Coast, followed by the Mayans and the powerful Aztec Empire in the central region. Spanish conquest happened in the early 1500s when Spanish conquistadors led by Hernán Cortés invaded and conquered the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City, establishing the viceroyalty of New Spain. Then, between 1810 and 1821, Mexico fought a war for independence from Spain, led by figures like Miguel Hidalgo and José Morelos, resulting in the establishment of the Mexican Republic. And following independence, Mexico experienced significant political instability, including conflicts between regional leaders and foreign interventions. And then in the mid-19th century, Mexico lost a significant portion of its territory to the United States in the Mexican-American War, which brought on a bunch of new states to the United States, including California, as we know it today. And in the early 20th century, there was a major uprising against the authoritarian regime of Porfirio Díaz, leading to widespread social and political reforms, including land redistribution and labor rights enshrined in the Constitution of 1917.
Wow.
Bet you didn't know all that.
No, we learned zero, Mexican history.
I know.
Where I grew up, so I don't know anything about Mexican history. And what I think is interesting, too, is, when I moved to California and you all celebrate Cesar Chavez Day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a whole day off for everybody. And I was like, what is this? We don't do this in Georgia. We didn't do this in Georgia or Kentucky or any, on the East Coast. And so, yeah, I was like, wow.
Federal commemorative holiday proclaimed by President Barack Obama in 2014.
Yeah.
Celebrates
and I'm like,
the birth and legacy of civil rights and labor movement activist Cesar Chavez on March 31st every year.
Yeah, and I'm like, how come it's only recognized here in California? I mean, I don't know if other states on the West Coast recognize it, but on the East Coast, it is not. I had never even heard of it.
I was just some California kid. I'm like, I don't even know who Cesar Chavez is, but hey, if I don't have to go to school,
it's a win.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's great that would be a day, you know?
Yeah. Like, what the heck? That needs to be more widely.
Sorry, great that we would celebrate the efforts of Cesar Chavez, not that we get the day off. That does not matter.
I mean, there's a lot of days that I think we should have off that I do not have off. That really messed me up. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm shook that I had never even heard of it.
Do you get Juneteenth off?
No.
Ooh.
No. We don't even, our school doesn't even do Labor Day off.
Okay, well, that's weird.
Freaking Labor Day.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has Labor Day off. No.
Did you have MLK Day off?
Yes.
Okay.
Not at work, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
get very few holidays.
Every business is different, you know, because the corporation decides which days are going to be recognized as work holidays.
Okay.
And for all of the businesses that I've worked at, they had 10 work holidays a year. And, you know, it's different depending on which business you're at.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's like a floating holiday, and they'll usually put that around the end of the year, wherever it's beneficial, like if it's Christmas Eve or like New Year's Eve or something like that. But yeah, at my current job, we get Juneteenth off.
Yeah.
And that would be like kind of the 10th one.
We don't. We do a lot of like company events, which are kind of fun, but we don't get the day off. We do, which I think is the weirdest thing. We get we get Black Friday off, like the day after Thanksgiving off.
I mean, we get that day off too.
Yeah. But like, I would rather have like Juneteenth off, you know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Most people have Black Friday off. That's what kind of makes it Black Friday.
Yeah.
Is like you get, you know, you're supposed to spend time with your family on Thanksgiving, and then on Black Friday.
Shop, engage in capitalism.
The economy revolves around Black Friday. Like, we need Black Friday as a society.
I'm like, no, I'd rather that day be moved. Give me Juneteenth off. Give me Christmas Eve off. Like, I worked Christmas Eve this year.
Yeah.
I worked New Year's Eve. Like, I'm like, give me those days off. I don't need Black Friday off. I'm not shopping. Like, and also you can shop online. Like, we have Cyber Monday.
I bought a lot of stuff on Cyber Monday this year.
Yeah. I'm like, we don't need the day off. I mean, I do enjoy the day off. but yeah.
I feel like you've always had Black Friday off. If you one year suddenly didn't have Black Friday off, you would be livid. You'd be complaining to me the whole time. You'd be like, ugh.
Yeah. I'm going to complain because I like my holidays. I want all the holidays off.
You're silly.
But I'm just saying, morally,
you would rather have
like,
Juneteenth off than Black
Juneteenth
Friday.
Off. Yeah.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't complain. I work a part-time schedule, so like,
yeah.
there's really no reason for me to complain.
This has been a fun discussion. I'm glad I chose this movie. I feel like we got to talk about a range of very crucial, critical topics that are just like ripe for discussion that maybe people aren't having enough of. So I really enjoyed this.
But with that being said,
we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about Project X, baby!
Oh my gosh. You go ahead and get started. It is time for my intermission potty break.
I went through the suit of happiness, and I know. Okay. So, believe it or not, despite having lived Project X as a youth, Aaliyah just kind of gave me a look. I had never seen Project X. This movie came out actually, when did this movie come out? Was it 2012? Project X. Let's Google that. Yeah, 2012. This movie came out in 2012. That was the year I graduated from high school. So this movie felt like definitive of the time. So, which is kind of what makes it crazy that I hadn't seen this movie, because I feel like I was the target market for this movie, and it's not until I was a 31-year-old man that I actually watched this movie. But watching this movie felt extremely nostalgic, both for the content and for the music. It's just, for those that don't know what Project X about, it's about a teen who he's a high school senior, I think. It's his 17th birthday, and he throws this huge party in Pasadena, California, where he lives. And his parents are out of town. He throws this huge party, and basically everybody and their mother shows up. Wild, crazy stuff ensues. People are getting drunk. People are taking drugs. A car ends up inside a pool. A dwarf ends up inside of an oven. The guy whose like house it is jumps off of the roof, lands in the bounce house. The cops get involved. There's riot police. A drug dealer that they stole a gnome full of ecstasy from.
They didn't know it was full of ecstasy.
They didn't know it was full of ecstasy until Miles Teller, playing himself, Miles Teller, the actor, takes a bat to it when somebody tosses it to him for fun, and then it explodes and there's ecstasy everywhere. The drug dealer that they stole that gnome from unknowingly burns down like half the neighborhood with a flamethrower. Yeah, it's a wild ride. It just it gets out of control, and it's just really fun. It's just a super fun movie. I mean, I don't know how better to summarize the movie other than that. I guess there's like the most story that there is going on in this movie is that Thomas, whose birthday it is, likes his friend Kirby, who's like, you know, a very fine young lady that he's been friends with forever. But then, you know, his friend Costa, whose idea this whole thing is like, dude, that's cool that you like Kirby and all, but tonight's about going for the girls that we've never had a chance with before. So Thomas like goes for Alexis, who's like, you know, the popular hot girl at school,
the Megan Fox of the school.
The Megan Fox of the school, who like ends up showing interest in him and like hooks up with him, which is the least realistic part of this movie, I think. I feel like it just kind of treats it like, yes, the hot girl will hook up with you if you throw a cool party, when it's like, I don't know if it's that simple, but anyway, it's very shallow. But yeah, then like Kirby walks in on him hooking up with her, and then he's like, no, Kirby. But then like after everything shakes out and, you know, the cops come and a riot ensues and they run away and whatever, and it's the next morning and he goes to school and everybody's like, woo, yo, Cub, that party was lit. He just wants to fix things with Kirby, and he just says the right thing. He's like, everything in my life is messed up right now, but the only thing that I care about fixing is this. And she's like, okay. And she just forgives him, gives him a kiss. And then it does the whole, like, here's what it, like the text on screen, like, here's what happened to this character, here's what happened to this character. And it's like, Thomas was convicted of his crimes and disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
And Costa is like awaiting.
Great lawyers, and
he had great lawyers and got off scot-free, but he's awaiting the results of 3 different paternity tests,
which is like insane.
Right. And then I feel he was not hooking up with a girl at any point during the movie, but it's just funny to throw that line in there.
He did, like, make out with a girl. We like briefly see him making out with a girl.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this movie's just like, it was just fun to watch. Like, I feel like you don't watch it for the story, you just kind of watch it for the escalation of the party. And like, for me, just it felt like I've been to parties like this, maybe not quite at this level because it's a movie, that is the whole point, that it's like Project X and it's like crazy, but just like for me, the nostalgic of like kind of having had this experience at one point in my life of being in spaces like this where there was a big party at somebody's house and people were maybe doing things and getting under the influence. Just that was very fun for me to kind of like briefly relive that in like a 90-minute movie.
Mm-hmm. This movie feels very A24, but it's like before A24 was like really on the map, I guess.
Well, it feels like it feels like Spring Breakers, like a year before Spring Breakers came out.
Yeah.
Like, And I feel like we said this in the first episode of our podcast in which we talked about Spring Breakers, where we said, like, if you ever want to know, whenever we have kids and we want to point to, like, what was party life back, like, when you were a youth, whenever you were, like, you know, a young adult, I would point to Spring Breakers and Project X.
That's insane. I have never had any experience like Spring Breakers or Project X.
I mean, it's not necessarily that I've had experiences like that, though I've definitely had experiences closer to Project X than I have to Spring Breakers. It's the music, it's the vibes, it's the young people who are, I was that age at that exact time when those movies came out, that the movies are following. So I was kind of interested in those types of activities at that time, at that age.
Yeah.
And people I knew who, like, were doing those things with me, were, like, listening to the type of music that were in these movies, and, like, interested in doing, like, going to house parties or going on spring break, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So that, like, it, like, encapsulates a whole era of my lived experience.
Yeah, that's fair. It's all very Tumblr.
Sure. Sure.
That's funny. Yeah, I love this movie. I loved this movie when it came out. Everything, and honestly, hold on, I think it came out 2012.
Yeah, 2012.
I probably wasn't even old enough to see it. I probably was like right under right. I wasn't quite 18 yet.
Who took you to see this film?
I know, it was 2 years short of 18. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I like snuck into the movies. Like, we would always just sneak into the movies to go see, you know, you buy a ticket for, I don't know, Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah. Santa Claus 3.
Yeah. And then you just go walk into the one that you actually want to see.
I remember when the Santa Claus 2 came out, we had to, like, wait in a line to get into the theater.
Yeah.
It was like, I think it was like Veterans Day or something. Like, we had the day off, so we were at the movie theater, and there was a bunch of people waiting to see the Santa Claus 2, which we had tickets for. Yeah. And my mom was like, I don't feel like waiting in this line. Let's go watch Jackass the movie. And so we just snuck in, and we watched like 20 minutes of Jackass the movie.
Yeah. See, like, now you can't.
And I was 9.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I've seen movies I should not have seen as a kid, just because whatever adult I was with, it was like, I just want to see a little bit of this. Let's go in there. I think I saw, like, I was young when Starsky and Hutch came out, and my grandpa was like,
such a stupid movie. I've seen that movie many times.
My grandpa had taken us to the movies, and after our movie was done, he was like, come on, like, we're gonna go in here real quick. We watched like a piece of Starsky and Hutch. Anyway, good times. But what was I gonna say?
You snuck in to see Project X.
Oh yeah, we like snuck in to see this movie, and honestly, I don't even know. Like you said, this is like, it feels very like Spring Breakers too, and either one of those movies, like, you would sneak into the movie and it'd be like all of your friends who were also in there, like they had also snuck in, and so it's just like, yeah, it's just such a fun time. But it's also, I'm like losing my train of thought. I have like pregnancy brain right now.
No, that's okay.
What I was gonna say is, it's like, I wonder, like, can kids do that now? Because like now you have to like buy a seat, and like I guess only at the dinner ones.
I mean,
do you
people don't really sneak into movies anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like a smaller showing, you could just walk in.
Yeah.
But like, we go to the Alamo Draft House, which has like a strict etiquette, and they come to your table to kind of check you in.
Yeah, they're like, we got to make sure you're sitting in your seat that you purchased.
So it wouldn't happen there, but if you go to
like Regal,
like
or
a Regal
AMC
or
or
an
something.
AMC or a Cinemark or Century Theaters or whatever, if it's a small showing, or if there's not that many people who've bought tickets, like, yeah, you just walk in, sit wherever you want.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not advocating for doing that.
No, buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket, support your local theaters. But, like,
yeah,
you know, if I were to do it, that's where I would go.
Got you. Yeah, I feel like movie theaters are now getting more sophisticated, and now it's like assigned seating.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was definitely easier back then when we didn't have assigned seating.
Yeah, because like movie theaters where you have dinner like didn't exist. It was just
it
was just movie theaters. Anyway, ready for some facts?
Yeah, I actually have nothing else to say about this.
Yeah, like you said, there's not much story to it. It's just a fun ride.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's enjoyable.
Did you write down any like questions?
No.
Oh. I feel like this is a good movie to like ask questions, you know?
Well, maybe I'll think of one.
Actually, maybe not the right movie to ask questions because I feel like those questions would be like, what's the craziest experience you ever had at a house party? It's like, well, maybe I swore myself to secrecy on some things and shouldn't.
Please, you have told me everything. you keep zero secrets from me.
But like maybe I shouldn't put that out on a podcast.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Anyways, facts. So all of the characters are named after the actors. So like Thomas Cubbs played by a guy named Thomas. The only one that isn't the like names aren't
even
fully aligned.
Kirby,
yeah, she played by an actress named Kirby.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody uses their first name as their character name.
Wow.
Only thing is Costa or Costa? Costa?
It's probably Costa.
Costa.
I was saying Costa.
Yeah, Costa. His name, the actor who plays him, is Oliver Cooper. Maybe Costa's like a nickname he goes by.
Gotcha.
But yeah. But everybody else, it's their name.
That makes the movie like more real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And a lot of the footage was, they basically passed out a bunch of like cell phones to the extras and things like that. So a lot of the footage is just like recorded footage on people's phones that they just like put together.
That's awesome.
Yeah. This is the most pirated movie in 2012, which like makes total sense.
I mean, yeah, that makes total sense. I'm sure like people, the demographic of people who pirate things were the target audience for this movie.
Yeah. And so it had do you want to guess how many downloads it had?
5 million.
Nope. 8.7 million.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Yep. So they filmed this movie on a set, of course, as opposed to a real house, because that would cause such a disturbance to the neighborhood. But apparently people like still complain to the Burbank police about the noise, which is like, goodness, that's a lot. There were, in the movie, they say there's like 50, he's like, I think like 1,500 people showed up or something like that, a few thousand. They only had like 200 extras, but
oh wow,
yeah,
okay,
that's still quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they said that the set was effectively trashed.
I imagine
during the production.
I imagine. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the movie is loosely based on a real house party of a kid named Corey
Parker Anderson?
No.
Oh.
How, babe? You were not doing anything that crazy.
I was not doing anything this crazy. No.
It was loosely based on a house party of a kid named Corey Worthington, I think, and then in parentheses it says Delaney. Maybe that was like, I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Anyways,
kid.
he was in Australia.
Oh.
And yeah, he's an Australian kid. And when he was a teenager, he had a house party and put his address on MySpace, which they say attracted around 500 people and caused about 20,000 in property damage.
I mean, that seems tame compared to
20,000 property damage is still way too much.
20,000 is way too much, but I feel like the amount of property damage that happened in this movie.
Oh yeah, because it was like the whole neighborhood was burned down.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they really exaggerated it for this movie. Like I said, it was loosely based off this kid.
Gotcha.
And his party, but they like went to the extremes here. And I would just like to say, the dad's reaction is not strong enough for me. I was like,
it's just this like. I understand. It's just supposed to be kind of like a funny little throwaway thing because at the beginning of the movie, the dad says, I'm not worried about us going out of town and him having friends over because let's face it,
he's a loser.
Which is and like, he what? Says that. He says he calls his own son a loser. So then when it ends up being this legendary party that's on the news, it's just kind of this funny thing. His dad's like, so like, what was it like? You know, like, was it lit?
No, as an adult now, And like, as someone who, aspires to own a home, hopefully this year, like, who, now, like, my goals in life are like, let me get a house, let me settle into this. We're having
settled
a baby.
on our priorities.
I'm like, if my freaking kid, our little baby boy,
I would be so pissed.
if our little baby boy trashed our house like that, my car is in the pool.
If people stole my stuff that I like worked so hard,
I would literally
to accrue, to obtain.
Exactly. It would take all, like, I would have to walk away. Like, I would be like, I cannot physically look at you right now because
Wow.
I will not be able to restrain myself.
I'm gonna hold her back.
You would literally have to hold me back because I would be like, what did you do? I taught you better than this. Like, I'd be livid. Oh my gosh. So when like his reaction was nothing, I was like, not me. Couldn't do it. I'm upset for this man. This is a movie. So
I mean, that's the point. It's a movie.
Yeah. So the writer of this movie is Michael Bacall, who also wrote 21 Jump Street and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Nice.
And
I'm a fan of your work, Michael Bacall.
Yeah, and he was working on this script in the evenings, while during the day he was working on those two scripts. So he was just like, creating some bangers all at once. It's crazy. The last fact that I have is that the studio did not like the name Project X for the movie because they thought it felt like a science fiction film. And so they suggested giving the movie the name Happy Birthday Thomas Cub, and the producer was like, absolutely not, that sounds way too he was like, it sounds way too PG. Yeah, like it sounds like it's a good buddy film or whatever, and that's not at all what this movie is. But neither of them could really decide on any other title, so they just kept Project X.
Project X is an iconic title.
And so that's all the facts that I have.
Like, we used to be at parties and be like, yo, this is going to be a Project X party. It's not like we would be like, yo, this is going to be a Happy Birthday Thomas Cub party. Like,
it's going to be a Cub party.
No way. Yeah. Like, if you can refer to your own party as the title of the movie, that is a way more marketable name. Marketing 101. Okay, well, very fun. You want to do assignments?
Sounds good.
All right, great. I'll let you go first.
Okay. As we've been watching The Traitors, there have been lots and lots of commercials.
The Traitors.
The Traitors.
Just Traitors.
Is it?
Just Traitors.
Oh, Traitors. Whatever. Tomato. As we've been watching that show, there have been a lot of commercials about medications. And they all have really funny names.
Yeah.
And we've been making fun of them and talking about just like pharmaceuticals in general.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a movie about, one
Thank
of the
you
characters.
for smoking?
No.
Oh.
One of the characters is a pharmaceutical rep. And that is...
Is it the Jake Gyllenhaal movie?
It is. It's Love and Other Drugs. Not...
Is that the Anne Hathaway movie?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like a comedy at some points, but also has a little drama in it. So...
Okay. Love and Other Drugs. That works for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gotcha. I am down for that. I'm going to give you a Denzel Washington movie.
Oh, love Denzel.
I'm going to give you...
Our therapist.
Our therapist? Oh, I get you. That was a reference to the Gladiator 2 press junket. Gotcha. I'm going to give you Deja Vu.
Cool.
You're familiar with Deja Vu?
Yeah.
Yeah. Haven't seen it though, right?
Oh.
Do you know what it's about?
Let me look it up.
I feel like no. No, don't even look. Don't even look. We should just watch it because like you would know if you've seen Deja Vu before.
Okay.
It's like it's a little wild. If we start watching it and you're like, "Oh, I've already seen this." We'll still watch it anyway because I want to watch it anyway. But I love Denzel. I have a backup that we can do instead.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think I've seen it. I think I've just heard of it. Like I know exactly what you're talking about, but
yeah,
I'm not sure that I've seen it or not.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, you would. I mean, I've seen this movie a bunch of times, but I feel like the premise is like unforgettable.
Gotcha.
Um,
I've got a foot and my belly.
Little baby boy kicking.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's see. We did Project X second, so that means it would be your movie. So join us next time for Content Swap, where we will be discussing Love and Other Drugs and Deja Vu. Look forward to that. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
I feel like it was kind of chaotic.
This episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I went into this episode thinking I have like barely any content that I've engaged with in the past week, so... And I had almost no notes on My Family, the movie. Plenty of notes on my own family. Just kidding. Just kidding. But there was no trivia on that movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this might be a quick one. Like maybe we'll get it done in under an hour or something.
Well, I kept going on tangents.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We ended up talking about like the history
My
of Mexico
laptop.
and your laptop and. A million different things, but it's been fun. That's why we do this.
Yeah.
So hope you, dear listener, had fun as well, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye.
All right, bye.